Okay, headphone is on.
Yep.
Monitoring the situation.
Yeah.
Hello, Aoife. How are you doing?
Hello. How are you? Thanks for having me.
Thank you, and welcome to the podcast.
Yeah, it's so exciting. I've never done a podcast before. So
Here we go.
Yeah.
Let's break that
See
habit.
what happens.
See what happens. What you have to share with our listeners and viewers. So, Aoife, please introduce ourselves briefly to our listeners, viewers.
Yeah, so my name is Aoife, obviously, and I have been working in fitness the last maybe like 12 years, 13 years. I was trying to think about this on the way over.
We have started possibly same time.
Yeah, I think maybe around the same time. I worked in a gym close to my house called West Park, and then I moved to Westwood then a few years later, and I'm still there part-time. And then I have my own business called Balance by Aoife. It used to be called Yoga with Aoife, but I just rebranded it because I kind of forgot that I teach other things other than yoga. Like I do dance and one-to-one personal training. So yeah, I've rebranded just in May. So yeah, it's very exciting. And yeah, I'm just excited for the journey, I guess.
So that's how we met as instructors doing Les Mills classes and the Westwood's Christmas parties. So we definitely started around the same time because I'm in it for 12 years exactly in September now.
Isn't it so crazy? Like it's actually such an achievement, I think, in the fitness world to be still in it, still loving it. Like, and you know, I feel like I only started. It's crazy.
I think that's cool that you're pointing it out that a lot of people quit.
Yeah.
You know, I see in certain bigger gyms, rotation can be big and it's also reception, it's sales stuff. Rotation is huge. Why? People are not satisfied with something. Either it doesn't pay enough or it's not exciting enough or maybe whatever it is. So what was that for you that you stayed 12 years?
I think it's just the passion. Like to work in fitness, you have to love it because it's hard. Like, you know, you're on shift sometimes, depends on where you work, but like it's early start, sometimes late night. Like, so you really have to come back to like why you're doing it and why you love it. And fitness was always a big part of my life since I was a child. Growing up, like my family were really into fitness. And then I was, you know, dancing since I was like 4. So, you know, it was just a part of my life. So it just continued on and yeah, here I am. I'll be in it. Like I want to be like 100 years old teaching yoga.
So what would be your favorite fitness classes or trainings that you would like?
Yeah. So, I mean, I teach a lot of dance. So I teach Les Mills dance and I teach Zumba. And then I also do more holistic classes, obviously like yoga, body balance, Les Mills shapes, which people might not really know about, which is kind of like Pilates and yoga combined. So yeah, I would teach a lot of those styles. Previously, I have done like body pump and, you know, spinning and all the kind of more energetic ones, but yeah, lately I've kind of gone more towards the holistic side of it, which is probably more me, you know. But I think maybe with age as well, you kind of change your views on fitness and everything. So yeah,
I think over the years as well, like I used to do 4 body pumps day after day after day after day. And I remember on the 3rd day, the fatigue in my body, and the 4th day, I was like a zombie. I was exhausted. So as a natural progression of me as a trainer to shift from these less intense classes to more kind of more coaching classes or not as taxing on my energy. So then if I want to exercise, I can go to the gym and do it, but I'm not actually overtraining. I'm not exhausted all the time. So what I'm trying to say is find a balance.
Yeah. And that's why I kind of set up Balance by Aoife, because I felt that like, you have to have a balance of everything, because I love yoga and it is my number one passion, but it's not the only thing I do. Like I have to train strength because I need to be strong to be able to hold the poses. And I also, you know, do other things, and I run a lot as well, which is my outside kind of hobby. And I think sometimes, particularly with yoga, you can kind of just be put in one box, like this is all I do, but actually there's so much more that you can do, and you don't have to just be one type of person. You can be them all if you really want to. And I think finding the balance between, you know, your cardio, your strength, and your holistic, your stretch is so important. And I think, yeah, the more we do it, especially for me anyway, it really, I feel at this age, I'm 33 now, which is
Congrats.
only since a few days ago. I feel at this age, I'm at a much better place in terms of exercise. And I think when I was younger, I definitely probably suffered a little bit from burnout, but probably just ignored it because I just kept going. And I just really wanted to teach body pump and I really wanted to train after work. And I think, you know, I loved it at the time, but like looking back, like I couldn't do that now. Like, and I probably, if I could tell myself back then, you were doing too much, I would.
Yeah. I became a trainer when I was 30.
Yeah.
Now I'm 42 recently.
Wow, yeah.
And I'm also learning about finding the balance and what's necessary. And, you know, I always believed that, you know, having some mobility training as well, having some cardio training and having some kind of resistance training or even combat training. I think combat training is really good as well for just self-confidence and self-defense, you know?
Yeah. Oh, and it's exciting. It's
exciting, yeah. Being able to kick or punch and, you know, it doesn't need, you don't have to use it, but just the fact that you can do it. You know?
Yeah, and it's nice to tap into like different powers as well, because I did body combat, Les Mills body combat training before, and I remember going on it thinking like, oh my god, like this is
You're
not
such a
me.
yoga girl,
yeah, like, and even people were telling me like, are you sure? But actually when I was on it, I was like, this is great. I was just using power and I felt so powerful. Like I actually felt so strong, and I was like, this is deadly. I don't really teach that much of it at the moment, just the way my schedule is, but when I do a class, some of the girls in work in Westwood, like they're amazing. And when I do their classes, I'm like, oh my God, like, so sometimes those type of classes, it's like dance, like you feel so uplifted and like strong, and it's power, like it's a powerful thing, like for you're internally, like, and externally.
Yeah. It's good to balance things out and, you know, having some kind of goal as well. And I guess a lot of people, let's say, I've been talking a lot about weight loss and how to be in a good shape. And I'd say the common misunderstanding is like just cardio or just a diet. But I always believe with any approach to what I do with clients is that holistic approach. You don't have just this or this. You have to apply different systems, different aspects of body, of physiology, of nutrition, of exercise, and combine them together. So you have that sort of holistic, more comprehensive approach. And even with like a physio type of technique for, let's say, getting somebody's injury recovered.
Yeah.
If you're not 100% sure what's the problem, like throw a net of different approaches, and some of them will for sure work. If you do just one and you actually made a wrong decision, it's not going to work.
Yeah, that's the thing. And I think as well, like now, especially in terms of clients and one-to-one training, I really focus on like that feel good factor from inside, because I really do feel like if you get the inside right, as the quote says, the outside will fall into place. And I think a lot of the time, like we just don't have enough confidence in ourselves to, you know, number one, pick what is correct for our bodies in terms of training. And we just don't have the confidence in the gym, even though I suppose it's more widespread. People, you know, are into the gym more and it's talked about more. I think the confidence of people going into the gym still just isn't always there. And I suppose now with social media and everything, like image is just everywhere. So I think everyone still focuses a lot on the external. So a lot of my clients, I really try and focus on internal, and then the rest will follow in time. Yeah.
We were actually chatting just when you came here.
Yeah.
We were talking about teenagers and how social media can change people's moods and cause depressions.
Yeah.
You know, you want to expand on that topic?
Yeah. So look, I think social media is such an amazing thing, and most of us like wouldn't really have, in this industry anyway, a business without it. I know I again, have used it so much for business and for getting people, you know, for advertising and everything, but it does have such a negative impact on the lives of teenagers especially, but also adults as well. I mean, the need to scroll for hours and hours, like you could be in such a great mood and then you're stuck and you're on your phone and it's like 2 hours later and you're like, how did I even get here? I actually used to, first of all, I never really actually had a big interest in social media when I was younger. But then as, you know, the world evolved and I had to for business, I started to get into it a little bit more. But then I see myself like over the last few years create bad habits with it. Like again, sitting on it, scrolling, looking at what everyone else is doing. And then, you know, you come off it like, whoa, like how did I even get there? You know? So I really pulled back on that, you know, and tried to kind of find a bit more of a healthier relationship. So I'm very kind of like interested in the habits of social media. I do teach a lot of teens for dance and for yoga as well. And yeah, they even tell me they don't even like it, but it's a thing. So everyone's on it. But yeah, I think just in terms of like image, it really can get on your head because, you know, you should look like this, or you should be like this, or you should be doing this. Or I think we always want to be somewhere else, and social media creates that thing. Like you could be having the best day ever, and then you look at someone else and you're like, oh, that would be cool to do, wouldn't it? And you're just forgotten about this great moment that you're already having. So yeah, again, a balance with that as well. Like it's all balance.
Yeah, just the thing is, it can inspire us because, let's say in the past, if you didn't know someone knowledgeable, like an expert in your household or in the street or in your small town, you kind of relied on books or libraries to get the knowledge.
Yeah,
so now we can actually follow the people who have high knowledge and they present information, but also we have a lot of sort of misinformation, the BS, the I'm selling you my products, I'm selling you my services, and I'm overhyping it because I just want to sell more. So it's like, how can young person recognize what's true and what's false?
Yeah.
And you know, it's about critical thinking, and also like always doubt things that you read on internet, watch on the internet, hear it. It's just like first think about, is this too good to be true? Because usually it is too good to be true.
Yeah. So I actually used that phrase yesterday, speaking to my sister about something. But yeah, like if something's really too good to be true, generally it usually is, unfortunately, as positive as we like to think. But yeah, I think especially in the fitness industry, like there is so much out there. So it's really hard to know, eat this, don't eat that. Like, you know, it's really hard, I suppose, for someone who doesn't have the knowledge to decide what coach should I pick? What yoga and teacher should I go to? Like, because there's just so many, which is great as well. It's amazing to see the industry grow. And I love that, because when we started, well, I know when I started, it wasn't considered a real job. Like it was like, oh, you're going to do that as a hobby. Like it, you know, but now and that in that respect, in terms of social media, I think it's great because it's now created a real job, even though it always was. But it's
evolving.
Yeah, and that's great to see. But it's very hard to find what is going to suit everyone, you know, and people are, you know, picking misinformation up from different things, and that's kind of scary as such.
When I was starting to lift weights, I was 12, so officially 30 years ago. And before I played football, so always into sports since I was 6. But we didn't have internet back then when I was a teenager.
Isn't it so mad?
I think it kicked in when I was 15. So we relied on magazines, Muscle and Fitness. Yeah. And even there was misinformation because these programs that were in magazines are by the enhanced athletes. Yeah. If you can call them athletes. The guys who lift weights and becoming monstrously big. These plans were actually monstrous plan for these, you know, like, hey, Ronnie Coleman, Arnold Schwarzenegger, what program should I do? And these guys taking steroids and do it sort of like professionally. So, and then everybody else is trying to do their programs with different genetics. They're not enhanced with steroids, for example. Yes. And then you realize you're actually doing too much. So even then it was like so, but there was no social media either as well. And then when I became actually, when I used to do gym, I never thought there's a job as a personal trainer or fitness instructor. It wasn't in my horizon. Yeah. It's like, it didn't exist for me. I didn't know it's an option. And only I realized there's a job as such when I joined the Westwood Club in 2011.
No way!
And I was a member for 1 year, and then I think after a couple of months I started to do a personal training fitness course because I fell in love with classes. In the classes, instructors always different instructor with different energy, and I'm like, wow, this is what I was missing. And eventually I became a coach just by being in an environment and realizing, wow, I love this.
Yeah, the energy. I think that's what did it for me as well. Like, I just loved that feeling of being
Empowered.
And being surrounded by people who want the same thing. Like, we all want to have, enjoy the class and have a nice time. And I feel like that's what I loved about group fitness. And when I started kind of training, I was actually doing like weight training with my granddad and my dad. My granddad had like a small gym in his house, like it's like a shed. And like I started around like, I'd say like 8 or 9. We were doing like on the boxing bag, like so fitness was always in my house, like, and my granddad, like he was training like right up until he passed away like 2 years ago. And he was 94, still going into the gym, still doing his little sessions. Like, he was amazing. And like, I suppose having that in his life, especially as he, got older, was such an amazing thing because it kept him, busy. It kept his, and it kept his mind strong as well. Yeah. And that's why it's just so important to find an area that you like and start, but yeah, group fitness is amazing. I remember actually my first job, I actually just, it was like by fluke, I got the job. I was like at a step class and the instructor was sick, so there was no one to cover. And I was literally still in college. And then I said, I'll do it. And I was like, if you want. And they were like, yeah. It was kind of like last minute things. So like, yeah, go ahead. And look, I'd say if I looked back, it was probably the worst class ever, but like people enjoyed it. And then I got a job. So look, and here I'm still doing it now. So maybe not step, but step is coming back.
Is it?
Yes. And I would love to start teaching it again, but I'll need a bigger day.
Yes. Actually, I was talking to Diana the other day and we were talking about how I got into become a fitness instructor. And actually, any of these sort of like a major step ups in my sort of professional career were actually effortless. It literally invited itself into my life without any pressure whatsoever. It just basically the door opened.
Yeah.
And I remember when I just finished the cycling course, I wasn't even fitness instructor officially or personal trainer qualified back then. And I just passed a general manager walking in the gym and say, hey, how are you doing? Good. Just passed the spinning instructor course. And it's like, oh, really? We just short 2 trainers. And
it's like right moment.
And it just came like, you know what? You want to come tomorrow at 1:00? It was a very small class, cycling class. So I did a spin class. And it's like, okay, do you want the job?
Oh, I love that.
And then she said, I can give you full time because 2 trainers just left. Perfect timing. And I just was thinking about it over the night and I'm like, okay, so I get 40 hours, but I was actually earning significantly less than in my previous job.
Yeah.
And I shifted and first 3 years were struggle.
Yeah.
And then I had to kind of move up and become better coach. And I realized, okay, I have to be better or move out somewhere else. And I didn't want to move somewhere else into different industry. I didn't want to work office job. I would hate that, So I was like, okay, I have to become really, really good. So books. I was actually so broke. I had to sell my car, start cycling to work.
Wow.
So that was very humbling because stepping back in the quality of your life, it feels kind of, you almost feel like you're losing your pride.
I know.
It's very humbling.
Yeah.
And then you're like, okay, I can do this. I will. And I remember listening to this, what was his name? Tony Brown, this motivational speaker, Tony Robbins, and many of these guys.
Yeah.
And I remember going into my morning classes for 6 a.m. and cycling from Blackrock, freezing cold, the rain and black, and you're listening. You have to.
Yeah, you're like pumped up.
You can do this. I was like, yeah.
I love that. That is amazing.
And then eventually things start to expand. And it was actually from commissions from personal trainings that really I start to feel like I can make that extra step that I need to be able to afford let's say car or being able to afford a place on my own, so it takes years, but again, persistence as well.
Yeah. And just being consistent with, I think finding a focus, if you want to work in fitness is a big thing as well. Cause like, you know, sometimes people will just focus on personal training and then you can develop that, or, you know, cause there's so many different areas you can go into as well. And you like with classes as well, obviously you have to be careful because you don't want to burn out as well, you know, so it's trying to find like the balance of like one-to-one, like personal training and classes. I just love classes so much. So my problem is trying not to teach them. Like I used to teach so many and now it's like, but it's like the same for a member as well. It's finding that balance of how many classes a week you do as well, isn't it? Yeah.
100%. And, you know, eventually, if you think about, let's say, you go skiing or you go for mountain biking on the trails, and you as an instructor, you always think about, what if I break my leg?
Yeah.
Like, what would I do for a month? You're basically going to be unemployed.
I know. You know, I won't go skiing. Especially. I won't ski, and I won't. I can't even speak. Ice skate. I won't ice skate because I'm so afraid of falling.
and you know, I think rightly so.
Yeah.
Because you know, I think it's over romanticized. You see people doing it. You think like it's gonna be cool.
Looks so gorgeous and romantic.
And you know, actually, I would refer to some of my clients who are in their sort of late 60s, and. You know, it didn't turn very well skiing trips or even cycling trips and falling and, you know, damaging stuff. And at that age, you know, it's too risky, you know, like do these things when you're younger, but then again, protect yourself, be smart.
Yeah.
Don't have to do just what other people do just to be cool.
And if you want to go ice skating, you just get a penguin and you go around with the penguin. Because I did do that once before and really? I remember like everyone was like, is she for real? But you have to do what you have to do to be safe. But then I say that and then I'll go surfing.
Even and helmet, why not?
Yeah.
You know, people usually fall back on their head.
Yeah. But it's funny that you do have to think of them things like when you are an instructor, like, because even if it's not teaching, it's one-to-ones, like you still have to move, you still have to, you know, use your body. So
I wouldn't be surprised if Aoife actually drives her car with a 4-point seatbelt and
a helmet
and gloves and the fireproof suit.
I do drive very close to the steering wheel. I'm like proper like looking out. But no, I'm super protective.
I usually look at those people like this, like amateurs.
Yeah, you're just too cool. You're a more confident driver than I am.
It's all about how you look.
Yeah. Everything. Image is everything. Obviously not.
I'm joking.
But yeah, and then I remember I was in Portugal last year, went to like an aqua park or whatever. And I remember at the top of some kind like slide, I was like, should I really be doing this? And I was like, yeah, let's go. Anything with water, I love, like surfing, like anything like that. So in my eyes, I'm like, that's not dangerous, is it? But I'll still do it.
I mean, what's the statistics? I mean, how many people injured themselves in the last 2 months?
I know. Oh God, don't make me go home and start looking up statistics. I won't leave the house.
I'd say they'll be out of business if they have too many injuries.
So fair.
They will run out of cash flow. So, Aoife, you're always smiley, happy. How do you do that? Are you just born with that, or you just kind of ignore all the bad stuff? You know, like how do you keep yourself positive?
It's funny. So many people ask me this question, actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Do you know what it is? I feel like, look, I mean, I won't lie. Like I'm not always happy. I don't think anyone ever is always happy, but I do try and see the best in everything I can. And I do practice like gratitude a lot. And it's such a cliche. Like I know everyone says you practice gratitude, but I do actually feel that really helps me. And as I said, like I have such a great kind of routine with, you know, balance of exercise. So that obviously helps as well. And like I've been through my own things, like in terms of anxiety and, you know, I was diagnosed with PTSD a long time ago. I won't get too much into that, but like I have had struggles. So I do know that it's so hard to like get yourself from there to A to B, but it can be done. So like I would never sit here and say like everything's so happy all the time and I'm always so happy and their life is great, and you know, and sometimes it is, but it did take me a while to get to that point where I do feel like content. And I think number one, that comes definitely like with age. And then like number two, I've just developed great routines to get me into a happy and peaceful mindset. So I do regularly meditate like every day.
Do you do morning? Or
Morning, actually. I'm such a morning person. And that's probably from
before
the gym.
Before food?
Yeah, everything
Because
before.
even when I was doing the meditations or even the shamanic journeys,
Yeah.
it makes a huge difference if you eat or you don't eat.
Oh my God. So it so does.
Difference.
Yeah. As well. Cause like, I mean, your tummy, like your even your mind is not clear if you feel full.
Think about stomach.
Like, yeah.
So it's full.
Yeah, I know. And then you're probably like, well, you know, I'm sitting there and I have to go to the toilet. I've drank too much water. Like, you know, so it's kind of, for me anyway, getting up early and doing it in the morning is, for me, definitely the best way. It's not the only way. Like I wouldn't, because you know the way sometimes you see like 5 a.m. club and you should be getting up at 5 and going for a cold swim.
Productivity, yeah.
Yeah, because
Mark Wahlberg style.
Yes, and that's the thing. Like I am a positive person, but I try not to promote that too much because I don't want it to be, I think there's like, as you said, like toxic positivity as well, where it's like, this is how it should be. And it shouldn't. If you want to meditate in the evening, far away. Like it's going to benefit you like regardless. But for me, because of, I think, years of working in the gym, we're just so programmed to wake up so early. Like we start our day at 6. So that's usually when I wake up. If I'm not on shift in the gym, we'll meditate, we'll do breath work. Because a lot of the time when I have suffered previously from anxiety, it's because I'm not breathing properly. So
shallow breathing,
like fast, rapid.
Tension. Yeah.
Yes.
Like a shallow breathing will tense the body as well.
Yeah. So I found that I was actually doing yoga before and an instructor, the teacher at the time, said to me, are you even breathing? And I was like, maybe not actually, you know? And I actually probably wasn't. Now that was like a really long time ago, but yeah, so I kind of worked a lot on my breath. So I focus a lot more on that now, even if it's just like 5 minutes, you know, just focusing on the breathing. I usually do the box breathing, which is like 4 breaths in, hold for 4, breathe out for 4. There's so many other advanced ones as well. But yeah, so then I just have a good relationship now, as I said, like with exercise. And that really has helped me kind of develop a good attitude in terms of how I view life, like, and being present, because I used to spend a lot of the time living in ahead, like in the future. And I find that, and look, we have to think about the future. Like I have to think
100%.
about me buying a house in a few years. Like, you know, no matter what book tells you, you have to be present all the time. It's not possible. But I do think there is ways without your day that you can be present. Like when I'm in a class, I'm present. And afterwards I feel amazing because I've just been focused on that one thing. So yeah, like, but I do feel that I definitely focus on the more positive things as much as I can. But again, like life can be stressful as well. I've always made sure I like journal a bit as well. I read a lot. That really helps as well. And then I think as well, my bedtime routine is, I've nailed it. So
yeah, tell me please. I need to nail it myself.
I really nailed it. But I just put the phone down an hour before I go to bed. Smart. There's no scrolling, because I used to, I'll just answer that message, or I'll go on WhatsApp, and then that will lead to me going on Instagram, and then that will lead to me on TikTok. And here we are, and it's 11 o'clock and I'm up at 5. It's really the worst. So I have really gotten to a good routine of, and I tell people, I'm like, I probably won't answer you until tomorrow because I'm trying to switch off.
Fair enough.
Yeah. So that's usually another great thing. Phone down, start reading, and yeah, I feel so much better for it as well. I read like a lot of books like that are just novels, and then also like spiritual books as well, or self-help books. I do feel like I've probably at a time in my life have overdone the self-help books though. Do you know what I mean?
There's always
that time
of more intense learning, the desire.
Yeah, because I feel like there's such a big promotion on that, but sometimes like
it's too much.
You just have to go out and have a laugh. Like, and I felt like that before. Like when I have kind of been through my struggles previously, all that just wasn't really helping. Like I actually just needed to go out and have a good time. Like, and I'm not talking go out and go drink and to go dance. And I'm just talking about going out and meeting my friends for a swim, having a laugh, like, you know, just being with people who lift you up. And that is my next point.
Relationships.
Yeah. Relationships with like, you know, partners, family, friends. That's so important for your well-being as well. And I'm so lucky in a sense that probably my attitude comes from the people I'm surrounded with as well. Like my mum and dad are like the most amazing people in the world. Like my mum's so positive, like, you know, my dad's such a nice person to be around. So I'm still living at home at the moment. Hopefully in 2 years I won't be, but yeah, it's such a nice atmosphere to be around. And like my boyfriend as well, Connor, he's quite a positive person as well. So I feel like we bring out like the best in each other. And I think that's another big thing is like, I could easily not be in a relationship because I'm happy to be on my own, but we actually build each other up. So it's amazing. Like it's giving you more, you know? But I think a lot of the time, especially, you know, with relationships, it's hard because you feel like you should be in one. And then that can lead to being with the wrong person, or being surrounded. It doesn't have to be a romantic relationship. It
or
can
being
be
unhappy just because people are single, for example.
Yeah.
And that might be actually a better option than having a bad partner.
Yeah.
Because it's more drama, more emotional stress.
Yeah. It's such a hard one because, like, especially when you get to 30s, for a woman anyway, it's like, when are you having a baby? Like, when are you, you know? And I think I've got to such a good place. And again, that's probably why I feel content in my life, is I just don't think about those things. I know they'll maybe happen in the future, but they don't have to happen like right now. Like, I'm 33, I'm at home. That's fine. Like, I'm with my boyfriend, we're not living together at the moment, but I know we will be. But like, everyone's on different paths. Like, I think like a long time ago, you know, you get married, you have a baby, you buy a house, you do all these things, but like, life's not like that anymore. Like, you can do whatever you want. You can change careers when you're like whatever age you want, you know.
People don't have kids.
And exactly. And that's okay as well. Like, it's really like, you choose, you know. And I think the kids thing is such a big one when you're in your 30s. Like, a lot of people will still say it to me, and I'm like, well, if I'm grateful enough to be able to have one, and I want to have one, it will happen in time, you know. But I think it's a lot for people. I remember, like, before I met Connor, like, I think it was 3 years ago. Yeah, 3 years ago now. I was single, and people are just like, are you still single? I'm like, yeah, but you're 30. And I'm like, well,
don't stress me. Don't put your projections on me.
I'm fine. Like,
yeah, I'm okay. How's your life?
Yeah, like, you know, and like, now I actually made the decision last year to go back to college to study a degree. And again, it was kind of, are you sure you want to go there? Because like, that's not like, you probably won't get a house now for another few years. I'm like, that's okay.
I tell you like this, the houses in Ireland are so expensive.
Oh my God, so
and if
expensive.
you're not married to get that 10% only down payment, it's impossible.
I know.
I mean, you will have to, you know, manage the club, not to work there.
I know.
I mean, you have to be like in such a different position. So,
Yeah.
so I don't care about it anymore, because I'd say I'd rather buy a new car than paying a mortgage until I'm 70.
Yeah.
Because that stress, what if the world changes and suddenly there's a major catastrophe? We had the COVID, for example, which put us off the job.
I know.
And basically I'm like, so how, what about security for the future? I was like, like, it's more stressful for me to have that mortgage than paying rent.
Yeah.
Because then
so
maybe
fair.
when I'm retired, I will go somewhere cheaper and go back home.
Yeah, you might change location.
You will have your retirement money. You have some savings. I don't think so. I will stop working ever. I think in my 80s, I see myself working, doing some kind of productive work. Maybe something more intellectual.
Yeah.
The things will evolve. And so I believe, like, trust the process that you're going to be fine. That so far, if I track back, I've been looked after by this sort of like whatever it's called, coincidence, high power, universe. I always feel like there was some kind of support and protection. So why would I start stressing now when I'm 40 about the future? I'm having great rights. So why would I stress about things other people stress?
Yeah.
Like kids or having own house. I mean, having a house is overrated.
And do you know what? Everyone is on a different journey. And I think that's like the thing. Again, that's why I kind of do kind of now wake up and be at peace with like where I'm at, because I'm enjoying.
What do you want?
Yeah. And I focus on myself, not what other people are doing. And, you know,
your
it's
inner strength.
Yeah. And it took so long to get to that point of like not being like, oh, I should be doing this and I should be doing that and I should be over here. But when you do, like, it's so powerful, like, because you're your true self and your mind is clearer because you're going to be able to make decisions for yourself. So the bottom line is my positivity comes from focusing on myself.
But that's important.
Yeah.
Because that's more fulfilling. You know, when we were talking about reading books and also even relationships, there was a time of my life I came to Ireland. I was single for 5 years.
Yeah.
I was looking for myself. I was doing a lot of different hobbies and I was really living for myself and reading lots of books. And that 5 years was a huge transformation because really changing the paradigm from who I was, what I believed, how I was overreacting mentally, emotionally. Yeah. So I used that time to basically work on myself, and eventually I had an idea what my partner should be like.
Yeah.
But I wasn't the person that partner would want.
Yeah, I get you. I understand.
It took me a couple of years, maybe 15 years, to become the person who will have the dream girl that I wanted back then.
Yeah, I know, because everything, like, I don't really like the saying everything happens for a reason. I think it can be used in the wrong context sometimes, but it does unfold for the right reasons at the right time. Same with like meeting Connor, like we definitely met each other at the right time. I was in a good place, he was in a good place, and then we bring out the best of each other. But if I had met him like a few years ago, maybe not, it wouldn't have been the right time because I wasn't 100% who I am now. So yeah, it's definitely, you definitely have to do a lot of soul searching and digging deep, and like you say about self-help books, again, they come at a time when you need them as well. Like, I know The Power of Now was amazing. Just legend. Incredible. That's the one I recommend to everyone to read.
It's a good one.
Yeah. Once you're in the right mindset for it though, you know, because when I was kind of, you know, suffering with anxiety and stuff, sometimes it's kind of
too much.
The worst. Yeah. Like, because you're reading it going, oh, I should be like that, but I can't be. You know, and
it kind of pokes you into your face, into your eyes, like, hey, look inside.
Yeah. When actually, you know, you probably need to do other things to get to that space, you know. And I suppose for me, previously, I've done like CBT therapy, cognitive behavioral therapy, which is amazing. And then I developed, you know, moving on to more of the self-help books, more of the exploring different types of exercise, and getting to that point where I feel my true self.
Yeah, I guess we as humans, we go through the phases where we are drawn into some kind of direction. It could be different people, different group, different knowledge, different books, different YouTube channels, different podcasts, different books. Did I say again?
Yeah.
So it's kind of like you try to absorb something from it. There's something that you feel drawn to.
Yeah.
And then you almost like overdose on it, and then you have to step back and say. And so I had actually around 200 books on anything from philosophy, energy healing, ancient traditions, this kind of mystical stuff.
Yeah.
And I was really drawn to it maybe 17 years ago.
Yeah.
And then there was a point where I felt like, okay, that's enough, and step back from it.
Yeah.
And, you know, like we were talking about chakras and like how I actually did the Kirlian's photography, and I could see the chakras and the colors of the aura. And the aura changes constantly as your mood changes.
Yeah.
The aura is like this kind of flowing energy that is constantly reacting to what you're going through. But I've noticed my chakras were sort of like, I was in the head a lot. So the top chakras were just so much more open. There was like the graph. And they can measure it with some kind of device, which was incredible.
It's so cool.
And also I did it like a normal one, and then with meditation and Reiki activation. So I done Reiki, I had teachers as well. And actually, this teacher of mine, Renata, she really helped me. She is a director of a kindergarten in Czech Republic.
Oh my God,
and she
amazing.
Totally helped my transformation, going from this dark part of my life to much brighter, kind of like developing the skills.
Yeah.
And I realized like I'm so much in my sort of like head, my like sort of third eye crown chakra area.
Yeah.
And my sort of like root chakra, the bottom, and then the next ones were much close. So it's like a funnel like this.
Yeah.
And so I realized that I need to get into physical stuff. So
Okay.
let go
Yeah.
of these ideas and be like super spiritual stuff constantly, mysticism and all that kind of
Yeah.
paranormal stuff almost, which it's not proven by science, so
Yeah.
it's considered who science or complete, being wrong. But they're ancient traditions, so why not? I'm open-minded. I give it a chance to consider. Not necessarily I have to believe it. I can sort of flirt with the idea of what if this was actually true? How can I apply this? So how can I benefit from it? But I realized, and it was around 15 years ago, I have to shift into physical strength, my physical health, and exercise was a huge part of it.
Yeah.
So eventually I got rid of all of the books because they were in Czech language mostly and Slovak, and was moving. And there was such deep books, I didn't feel confident to give it to anyone.
Okay.
I just put them to the recycling skip.
Really?
Yeah, 200 books just went. I said,
Oh my gosh.
I said to myself, I don't need this anymore. I got it.
Yeah. I suppose you were just like letting go.
I'm letting go of that desire to hold the knowledge and so on, and I just let it go to clear space. And suddenly that sort of like physical aspect, you kind of balance that out. So I wonder what that photography would look like now. But actually the cool thing about that one was the chakras completely changed. And,
no way.
And this might sound a little bit weird. I have the photos somewhere, but when I activated Reiki, 7 lights appeared above my head in my aura.
No way.
Like balls of light.
Oh my God, I love that.
And I was like, what?
Whoa.
So I did my own experiment.
Yeah.
That's maybe 17 years ago.
Wow.
I went to Slovakia. That was, and I made a deal with the ladies. Like, could you do me? I'll pay you, but make me a good deal. So they had to pay like a full double price, you know. And it was an interesting experiment for me. And I invited my mom as well to do it.
No way.
And I look at my mom's photo, and there was 4 lights above the head, and I was like, "Wow, mom, that's interesting." It's like, "How do you think I can handle life with your father?" I was laughing.
Oh my God.
So what it is, how it works, I have no clue. But that's what that
was your experience.
Yeah. So who knows when we use these sort of energy techniques, what's happening energetically around?
Yeah.
How much do we not know about energy and universe and dimensions and whatever it is?
But there's still so many things that are unknown, like
even traditions about souls, like deceased, like thinking like there's some kind of energy aspects of ourselves that leaves the body and it's present. And there's a huge amount of traditions where they respect it and kind of help the soul to kind of go into that sort of other world, whatever that is, in different religions and different cultures. But there's a huge respect for that. So
definitely.
So who knows?
We just never know. And I think you have to have faith in the stuff that you have faith in or your experience, you know. And I think as well, like as I was saying, trying to keep that kind of good mental health, which I'm so like for and really always try to promote as much as I can, is just finding the best steps for you, you know, because if you are in a darker place, yoga is amazing, meditation's amazing, breathwork's amazing, but you probably need therapy first and doing all these things as well, you know. And I think it's important to, you know, remember that as well, that there's never going to be just one thing that's going to work and fix you, like especially my own, you know, past experiences. Like it's been a combination of different things, and like, as I said, there's been other things, swimming, like, you know, cold water therapy. There's been other aspects. So it's just trying to find what suits you best. And I think when we do have good mental health, then focusing on other goals like weight loss or toning or strength can happen a little bit more naturally then. Especially, as I always say with my one-to-ones, like I want them to feel good about themselves before we move on to anything else. So yeah, I think it's definitely an important one. I could talk about it for the whole podcast.
Oh, good. We have roughly 45 minutes left. So I like to keep it around 1.5 hours to extract as much information.
Yeah.
So on that topic, what I was trying to ask, different aspects of sort of like a self-healing as well. And I think that physical exercise is also really important for
Yeah.
moods,
Yeah.
because a lot of tension happens in the body that influence the mind.
Yeah.
And with the breath, like if you can deepen your breath, and especially the exhaling slower than inhaling, is calming the parasympathetic nervous system. So eventually, just by inhaling for 4, exhaling for 8, you are already calming down your nervous system. Therefore, your muscles relaxing. Suddenly, your mind is relaxing, and suddenly things are a little more optimistic. So actually, you can sort of breathe yourself into better mood in a way as well, and awakening the body as well. But then, on the other hand, what was I trying to say?
It will come.
You know, like finding different things. Like, for example, you were talking about therapy. Like, I would never really consider myself going for a therapy. But when I did some Reiki sort of family constellation retreat with one of my Reiki teacher as well, it was extremely powerful. That sort of like a family constellation things. And basically I tapped into some trauma when I was maybe 7 or 8 years old, and I released it, and I actually burst into crying really profoundly in a way, which I would never allow myself cry in a group
to be
or
like
on my own.
vulnerable.
I'm a tough guy, I can handle this. You know, you are this kind of like a warrior, you don't cry. But then I released that, and I felt so light. And it felt like energetically I let go of some blockage. And what I've noticed as a result of that therapy was that I could express myself more freely. And even small things like, well, not small, a very big thing, like being honest with my mother and talk to her about my life in a more sort of like a honest way, rather than pretending I'm this nice guy. And then just kind of like holding back to who I am actually. And the more I realize, it's just built more trust. But that was just one of the steps, you know?
And there's like so many different ways. Like I kind of get regular like massage now, like regular reflexology, like facial reflexology, like every say like 8 weeks or whatever, and that really helps me. Like that's my thing, like keeps me calm, like I feel so relaxed from it. So there's so many different things that you can try. Obviously exercise I would say is number one as well, to like release stress, tension, you know. It doesn't have to necessarily be something big, but it's just finding the right exercise as well. Because at the time when I was quite anxious, for example, I was teaching like a lot of body pump. And it was like the worst thing for me, because I would finish and I'd actually be like really hyped up, but I already went in really hyped up. So, you know, I was already like full of adrenaline, so it made it worse. Whereas when I say I went, for example, do yoga or body balance, when I was really hyped up, then it brought me down. So it kind of just depends on like, I suppose like where you're at the time. But now I'm more balanced. You need both. You need that energy, like running for me. Like I love that feeling of like sweating, like, you know, but then I also love the other side of things where you're, you know, relaxing and it's more chilled. And again, that comes back to finding the balance in your life.
We were talking about couples, relationships, and so on, that it could be immense source of happiness, but also of stress and frustration and lack of trust, suspicion, and all the negative emotions we can experience. And it can really destroy us, because a lot of people are pure walking, living evidence of how their marriage really destroyed their... There are people like that, of course. But what I wanted to point out is how the couples can help themselves as well with exchange of massage. The touch is so important. So can be so healing. Just, you know, having, let's say, cuddles, you know.
I know, like, I love a cuddle.
don't people love it? And then what if somebody doesn't love it? Is maybe there's something wrong with them. Maybe they had some trauma from childhood, and they just cannot be intimate with other people, well, the partner, for example. And so I want to just point out a couple of examples, like how couples can sort of like exchange a bit of energy to make the other person like happy or feeling better.
Yeah.
Would be, let's say, a massage. It could be hands or massage gun,
Yeah.
especially for people who exercise. So like you need deep tissue stuff,
I go in like broken.
So if you look at my apartment, it's like massage gun there, different massage oils, essential oils. I really believe as well the essential oils and how it stimulates the brain.
Oh, they're amazing for the nervous system. Yeah,
they're really
just
good.
smelling it.
I always liked it since I was a teenager, actually, or
really?
a child. Really, my parents, despite of how much I can complain about how they felt, there were a lot of things. There were a lot of things they actually introduced into my life that I said, well, it's amazing. Even the books they had, I explored them when I was a child, when I could read already. I started going to the books because we didn't have internet and computers back then.
Yeah.
So you kind of browse around the thing. I was playing on my father's typewriter, stuff like that.
That's so cool.
But okay, going into the techniques for couples, even we were talking about sound therapy.
Yes, yeah.
And so
Sounds
I have
so powerful.
Tibetan bowls, this kind of crystal pyramid, which is cool. You tried it. Drums.
I love the sound.
Any of the chimes, tuning forks. And there are different techniques where you kind of work with the sound frequency instruments, such as what I have described, and working in an auric field, an energetic field, which sort of extends to maybe like an arm length from a person.
Yes.
And once you work these vibrations around these centers, it's so calming.
Yeah.
Like even like somebody just a 20 euro Tibetan bowl, boom, and it goes, and you place it, let's say, at a forehead or a head. You don't have to touch the skin. You feel it. You
feel the energy, the vibration.
Immediately, it's so calming. So I guess I'm quite sensitive, and I always being sensitive, and it used to be a bad thing because I was just taking too much stuff inside.
Yeah.
And that's why
too much emotions.
I don't like too much crowds.
Okay.
Because I take a lot of that energy in and I'm overly sensitive. So like I balance it out. I go to the gym, but it's again a good environment and I kind of buzzing with. But then when I don't work, like kind of quiet time, just with one person or on my own, and just kind of keep it quiet and calm. But
were you always like that? Or were you?
For a long time. Well. Yeah, I had my crazy years when I felt that I need to go party with friends and going sleep in the morning or just don't sleep at all, just go to the next day. And I just realized, it's exhausting and you always feel worse afterwards. So, in my 20s, in my mid-20s, I have realized I have to look after my health because physical and mental, because these bad habits, these sort of extremes will eventually pay back. So it's the same with sugar, and it feels good in the moment, but there's no real satisfaction. And the more you go on a trap of addiction, the more inflammation and sort of disadvantages it has. It has sort of quite a huge impact on the health by overstimulating. Some people say even that leads to cancer.
Yeah.
But I always believe that you can change your body and fix it because in 7 years, every cell is replaced. So I guess if you change, even though people smoke, I think if you change, and that 7 years, every cell of your body is different.
Yes.
So I really definitely believe that healing can still happen. It's like, I think a lot of science is proving how mind-body connection and your beliefs, your expectations, the placebo, nocebo effect, how actually it's powerful.
I know. And I do love that. And that's why I love this industry more than ever, because we're getting that the mind and the body are connected. We're not just saying, let's go lose weight and lift weight and be really lean for our holiday and then come home and then we do it again. It's a lifestyle, and that's, I think, what we're speaking about today is the power of making it your lifestyle, not making it a chore, and making it a lifestyle, making sure you have like the balance, as we keep coming back to that word, but the balance of everything. Because if you're just saying, I need to go to the gym to lose weight, I'm going to do spin, even though I don't like it, but I heard it's good, you're not going to enjoy it. And then you're probably going to stop because eventually you'll be probably, getting a little bit tired of it. So if you can bring health and fitness, wellness into your lifestyle, you'll be so much more appreciated of it, later on. Not as simple as that though.
If you met someone who just tells you like, I'm not feeling well, my moods are low, I don't sleep well, I'm a bit overweight, how would you encourage them to change their lifestyle, and what would you tell them to do specifically if they become your client, let's say?
Yes, like as a one-to-one, yeah. Like look, with one-to-ones we'll always kind of have a little chat, and you know, our first consultation, our first meeting. I suppose it's really finding what that person does enjoy, because deep within someone there is something that they might have enjoyed years ago, whether it's going for like a walk, they might enjoy nature. I'll encourage to do more of that. So it's really trying to find, because I always think the more you speak to someone, the more that they will open up about the things that they do enjoy. And then that can be a part of a lifestyle, you know? And I mean, when I'm speaking to people about weight loss, I'm also speaking to them about creating better habits, reading more at nighttime, you know, because all these things are going to help you in the long run in terms of mentally and your physique. So yeah, I'll always encourage again to find what best suited. And then I usually, if it's a fitness, you know, getting together in terms of exercise, I'll encourage, if it is walking, we'll go for a walk together. Then I'll start with you, and then we'll increase the exercise from there. So that's usually what I do. I'll obviously always introduce a little bit to speak about, you know, yoga and meditation, and it's not for everybody, so I don't always, you know, push it too much, but it's going back to that, like finding what works for the client or the person, not just me. I would never just say yoga is the most amazing thing in the whole world and you're going to heal from it and you're going to feel amazing in the next month, because
they'll possibly struggle first.
They might be struggling, and then they might come to the end of the month and be like, I don't feel any different. So I never give anyone unrealistic expectation of themselves, because I wouldn't give myself, I used to give myself unrealistic expectations, but I really try and keep it realistic to that person specifically. And I've had, you know, clients in the past, you know, come in for a session extremely tired, and I'm like, right, let's just take it really, really easy. And I'll never just say, let's go, I have a plan and we're ready. And you better be ready. Like it's funny because people are motivated in different ways, like, and people take motivation differently. And I definitely do as well. Like, I think people are amazing when they're teaching, you know, boot camps, and they're like, come on, let's go. I can't teach that way because it's just the way I'm built. But I remember years ago, I did a boot camp, amazing class, amazing instructor. But I remember sometimes when they'd be shouting like, God, are they directing it at me? Because I'm just that type of person that I'm too emotional. I take it, I go, oh my God, I better work harder. Like, you know, so I'm just really aware that I by the end, I was nearly going to be like, well, I'm doing the best I can, you know? So I think it's trying to find how someone is motivated and then take it from there.
Yeah. Yeah. In my approach, I always try to give people that sort of freedom of choice, how hard they go, to see the bigger picture first, because if they're starting, I want to encourage their consistency over intensity.
Yeah.
I want them to focus more on a good form and sort of not to overdo it, so they don't feel extremely exhausted the next couple of days. That cannot
and
even
sore and
very extremely sore. And I'm always kind of thinking like, how would you feel if you are in their shoes?
Yeah.
And I'm saying, listen, I would tell them it's a long-term journey based on consistency and progressive overload. So if you're just coming first time here, trying a new thing, be very gentle on yourself. Don't overdo it. You look at around you, these people are here a couple of years, most of them, couple of years, really enthusiastic members. I see it in Blaze class, for example. So if you look around and the guy is sprinting at 24 kilometers an hour on a treadmill and you barely keep up with 12, you go like, I'm not good enough. So I want to encourage people sort of, you know, like pick your own pace, but it's a marathon run. It's not a sprint.
Yeah.
So you have to understand that it takes a long time to change the body.
Yeah.
But in the first couple of weeks, 3 weeks minimum, I believe, maybe 2 months, when you sort of creating new synaptic connections in your brain and you're building new habits, new muscle memory, new habit memory, and then things starting to be more and more effortless.
Yeah.
So first, as we said, well, there's a principle of being unconsciously incompetent.
Yes,
And
yeah.
then you become consciously incompetent.
Yeah.
You become sorry, what is then you go being consciously competent, and then the final block is basically unconsciously competent.
Yeah.
It's like walking. We don't have to think about it.
We just do it.
You
Yeah.
just do it. So you're going through the phases. So you first have to ingrain the habits and remind people, and also with let's say weight loss or just to exercise for health. I don't stress people if they don't losing weight fast enough. I mean, who am I to say how fast they should lose
Yeah.
the weight? And some people have metabolic issues, and adding stress on top of that they actually can't lose the weight even though
Yeah.
they try. I'm very patient with people and don't try to stress them. Every so often I just go again into, well, how's your diet going? Any changes in the body weight? Did you notice anything? I don't stress them. I encourage like, well
Yeah.
done, well done.
Yeah.
And then if they need to, I can tell them all the scientific methods, what they should be doing, and then like I think what I learned of those 12 years of being a PT and instructor, I realized that like you have to let people take their own pace,
Yeah.
and
Definitely.
and because of that, people stay with me for years.
Yeah.
I have clients for 8 years.
Yeah. Same.
They don't have a six-pack yet.
Yeah.
But there are people who are reasonably healthy,
Mm-hmm.
and they enjoy the training as well.
Yeah.
And possibly without me, they wouldn't do it, and they'll possibly already be on a downward spiral.
Yeah.
So in a way, it kind of keeps them in the loop of exercising and a bit of chat, and very friendly, encouraging environment where they don't have
Yeah.
to ever stress coming to sessions with me,
Yes.
thinking that I'm gonna push them too hard.
I know, because like back to saying like sometimes it's just about how someone is motivated, and I think for someone first time coming to a gym, you'll always have that vision of like the trainer just being like, right, let's go, and like we're doing this today, and like I think that's always the vision. It's not true, but like that is people's first, I think, impression, and I think I even probably thought that when I first started as well.
In the Westwood, we used to do a Westwood Club in Sandymount. We used to do free PT days,
Oh yeah, yeah.
open PT day.
Open, yeah,
And
yeah.
I remember a lot of trainers, they would go like, because you have someone coming first time,
Yeah.
like trying PT, it's like, destroy them. Just make sure they don't walk next day, because then they will realize that, they were never experienced training this hard. And
no.
like now I'm thinking it's such a stupid thing.
I know, isn't it?
Because-
But that just comes with age that we think this,
But that was the trainers who had more experience than me back in the day.
Yeah.
And I realized, I
But then,
think,
yeah.
you know what I realized? What I should do in that first session?
Yeah.
Connect with them,
Yes.
Be their friend.
Connection. Like,
be interested in them, educate them,
yeah.
tell them why they should do what they do
Yeah.
and how to perform it well.
Yeah.
And also be considerate about their level, where they are, rather than destroying them.
Mm-hmm.
Find out where they are, what they want to achieve, and how to get there, and be the expert for them they can trust.
Yeah.
So instead of just being there like kind of, yeah, go again, whoa, push.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, this is why we do it. You do it this way, and the whole
Yeah.
benefits, and add a little bit of science. So I think for me, one of the best selling point for me in inductions was always a bit of scientific
Yeah.
expertise.
Because knowledge is power. Like,
Knowledge is power, but also you kind of show off a little bit that you are actually just a little bit ahead of your
yeah,
competition.
you know what you're talking
That
about.
you are a good brand, basically. That you
Yeah.
actually worked on yourself. And that actually, I think for me, was the biggest success.
Yeah.
That extra knowledge,
Yeah.
that extra book, that extra quote, that extra, the right thing in the right time when it lands
Yeah.
well.
When it was supposed to be.
And they
Yeah.
go like, yeah. And then, when you are starting to be busy and it's not about money anymore, like, what is this about?
Yeah.
Who are we as coaches to people?
Yeah.
And who are we to ourselves? Like, we talk about happiness, fulfillment. So, like, when do we feel like we're succeeding? When we have more money on the account? Or we're succeeding more when we have clients who are feeling good, who trust us, encourage us, are creating community as well, and we help the other people as well. So it's not just like me taking out of the world, but it's me And in the past, I was fighting the world. I thought world was bad thing,
Yeah.
bad place, and you have to be really tough to make it, and creates really kind of different attitudes, different like emotional walls.
Yeah.
So you not get hurt. But then you realize, you are part of the world, and the world is sort of like a living organism reflecting to you as well. And you realize, okay, the right people come in the right time.
Yes. Yeah. I know. And as well, like when I think about, I suppose, like being fulfilled or being happy, and, as we spoke about being surrounded by the right people. And I suppose if you're new to the gym or coming into the, gym space, being surrounded by the right coach.
Yeah.
Like so important. Like
Yeah.
as we're discussing, like it's so important to have that connection with the right person and make them feel good. And then like my motto in life is like, you treat people how you would like to be treated. And I think that's what fulfills me sometimes as well. Like I get happiness from making other people feel good. Do you know? It's kind of it's a funny one, but I do. And it's so funny when you look at life, because I'm definitely someone who always makes goals, like always wants to achieve things and always like wanted to do new things. And that's why I went back to college. But
what do you study?
I'm actually studying business, but in the area of advertising and marketing. So it's very exciting.
You're a big brand now.
But like when I was deciding to go back, I remember people like, oh, you don't need it. Why would you bother? Don't bother. Just stay. But I wanted it though. And I think that's sometimes you have to block out the noise of everyone. For like, this goes for like any area of your life. What do you want?
Yeah.
People say, oh, but you're yoga. That's not yoga. I'm like, but it doesn't mean I can't do this as well. It's just blocking out the noise. But that was getting me onto the point of, I always wanted to achieve things. I always wanted to be better. I always wanted to be bigger, like it's in business anyway. And the last year I was just kind of like thinking, things that make me happy and like, areas of work and life and everything. And then I was actually just so peaceful with the fact that I could just stay like this and I would be happy. And I think that's when you get to true fulfillment, is when you can just be happy now. I'm not striving for 2 years' time when I get the degree in my hand, the piece of paper. I'm not striving to have 100,000 followers on Instagram because that's going to make me happy. Like it won't, but it's just trying to find fulfillment of where you are. And that might not happen because you might not be happy at that time, but it's getting the steps to get there. I used to teach a lot in schools, and I doing that for about 10 years, I think. Absolutely love it so much. Have taken a break while I'm in college, but I realized me teaching 5 Zumba classes per day really is not good for me, and it took me going back to college to realize, wow, like I probably wasn't doing the best things for me. So yeah, it's a lot of reflecting on everything. But I think like same goes for if you're starting in the gym, it's finding the best person for you. And it's so important. Even if you do consultations with like 5 different people, you have to decide who works best for you. Same with exercise, same with any kind of area of your life. Words of wisdom from me.
Yeah. I used to work in a car park in the past, and it was very it was okay paid job.
Yeah.
Zero responsibility. I was counting lots of cash, so
yeah.
I had always headphones on, could watch movies, edit photos. Managers were very good. It was in Dundrum Shopping Centre in a car park on a night shift.
Yeah.
And actually, even before that, when I was working in Slovakia, it was another job, and I asked myself this question: it's like, do you want to do this for the rest of your life? Are you fulfilled? And I realized, no, this is not actually my final destination.
Yeah.
So when I was in Slovakia, I was dreaming of something more. I didn't know exactly what it was, but at least I wanted to be getting paid more. I wanted a bit of adventure.
There was a goal there. Yeah.
I wanted to leave the old life and the mentality of Slovaks behind me. I kind of, like where I was, I didn't really like mentality either. So I kind of felt almost like need to escape that and just leave everything behind.
Yes.
And kind of start fresh. So I came to Ireland actually. And then I had that job as well. And I realized like, okay, I'm comfortable. I was always afraid that my like options will be so limited that I won't be happy because I'll be doing stuff that I hate.
Yeah.
So I always kind of like attracted the jobs that were sort of non-stressful, non-responsibility, and it was okay pay that I can just kind of live like this for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
I'll be fine. But then I felt like, is this it? Do you want to spend your next 30, 40 years working in a car park? And I realized no. And then only through fitness, through personal training, I realized actually that's something I enjoy. I enjoy interacting with people, helping them. And I was always into fitness and education and that kind of empowering things. And I get bored quickly. So I like to move around, change environment, change the rooms, different studio. I love music. So it actually eventually I built up a lifestyle in my sort of mid 30s where I realized like, yeah, I'm doing it. And then, things together and just realizing what does make me happy, what fulfills me. And so the fitness and the personal trainings and photography, making videos.
You're so talented.
The tech, I just thank you. And I just realized, I don't want to do just one thing. So like, what will I do in 5-10 years? I have no clue. But do I stress about it? Like, I'm good now. But if the path will open up and something new will come in, I might consider shifting towards different direction. But in the moment, it's fun being where I am. And tell me, what about you? How do you see yourself sort of evolving in the next 5-10 years?
Like, I mean, I'm so passionate about fitness and mental health being combined. So I definitely want to increase my business and keep building that brand. And I want to focus on more of my workshops and more of my retreats as well. So I definitely see myself growing, hopefully, in the same space. And what that looks like could be so different, like from what I'm thinking now, like in like another 3 years time, it could totally change. But I know I'll definitely be in this space probably for forever, who knows, but that's kind of definitely where I see myself kind of going and just being happy, just like enjoying my life as well, because that's the other thing sometimes where I know I am anyway, I'll achieve a goal and then I'm like, right, on to the next one. I haven't even enjoyed the one that I've got, so I think enjoying life and, continuing to work on your goals is fulfillment for me anyway. That's my plan.
Well, imagine like you reaching a goal.
Yeah.
And suddenly like you're on a cruise ship, you're going through different destinations.
Yes.
Like it gets boring staying there, doesn't it?
Yes.
It's about movement.
It's about movement.
It's about the next new destination.
Yeah.
And I think that's where maybe people kind of stop progressing and growing. When you go from, let's say, elementary school to your high school to college or whatever without college, and you go to a job and then you have let's say you have kids, you have a house, you have a job, and it's like, that's it. You finish your school years and now you don't have to educate yourself, you know? So it's like, really? You know, like the fulfillment of progressing and growing and reading books and learning new stuff. I think that's also where lots of people get sort of stuck by not moving forward enough and having that sort of secured, boring life where everything's predictable.
Yeah, I totally get what you mean. And I think that's why it's so important to focus on your own life and not, as we come back to what I said before, you must do this, you must buy a house, you must have, you must have kids. Maybe you don't want to have them and that's okay too. So it's really just like focusing on what you feel happiness and fulfilled by. And it's good. It's really good to have goals, but they might be work goals. They could be life goals. Like I want to, every Saturday I want to, make sure I do something for myself for an hour. If you're, to have a busy family, because it's easy for me to say, I get up and I meditate and I do breath work and I go for a swim. But like some people have families and they can't do that stuff as well. And that's why I always find it so important to never say, oh, I didn't go to the gym at 6 a.m. so I'll just won't go at all. Like, but it's actually just finding what suits you best, because again, it's like, I think there is a book, it's like 5 a.m. Club. I remember reading it before and it is amazing. And look, the benefits I'm sure are amazing, but it's not realistic for everyone. And that comes back to realistic goals. It's like weight loss. Like I want to lose this X amount of weight in 2 weeks because I have a wedding, do you know? So it's coming back to being realistic with yourself and like your mind and body. Like,
what will be your biggest aha moments in your sort of professional life as a coach?
Do you know what's so funny? I have always kind of suffered with a little bit of imposter syndrome throughout my career in the fitness industry, which I'd say most instructors probably do at times.
It doesn't look from outside.
Yeah, and it doesn't. That's the thing. Like it doesn't. But it's so funny. It's actually hilarious.
Let's go into the head of Aoife.
Yeah, to the mind. You don't want to go in there. There's so many different thoughts. But with fitness anyway, with group classes, like I always have like, you know, busy enough classes, like not trying to be big headed or anything like that. And after the class is over, I'll go, thank God. That's another week now where, you know, people are still here. They're still coming. Like, and my biggest aha moment was like working, say, with Balance by Aoife. So I was Yoga with Aoife and getting the website, getting the photos done. Obviously you did the amazing photography.
Thank you.
And then I seen it all on the website and I actually got so emotional because I was like, oh my God, you did it. Even if I don't do anything else from now, you did what you said you were going to do like 10 years ago. You finally got to a place where you were busy enough in your business to be able to afford this. And here you are. So that is my biggest aha moment. And it's actually helped my imposter syndrome so much now because I was probably doing that a couple of months ago, like saying, oh my God, thank God, full class, tick, tick, tick. Like we're all here. It's all good. They'll like me for another week. Like it's such a terrible thing to think of, but now I'm obviously in a much better place. But yeah, that for me was definitely my aha moment in fitness for sure. And I suppose just in Westwood, especially, and my own work, you build such a community with different people.
Yeah.
And I have made so many friends.
I'm not surprised.
Outside of like, different friendship groups. So, and it's nice to meet different people in the gym space because they get you, especially, my colleagues in work and everything like that. But that was another aha moment for me as well, was like, God, like you're still here enjoying this. Like the passion is still there. So yeah, they were my two moments. The website probably the most sticks out the most, but yeah, just so funny sitting there. And I remember actually I got a message from a client on the website and I remember going, Mom, I was like, Mom, someone just messaged me on the website. And she's like, that's what it's for. Like, yeah. But I was like, oh my God, everything's changing. Like, and I find that like, with this website now, it's a little bit more businessy, whereas before it was a little bit more casual, and I'm used to that. But I never want to lose that casualness because that's who I am. Like, I don't like everything to be too serious. But yeah, they're my biggest in terms of my career. I think moving to Westwood Gym when I was younger was a big thing for me because I was like, wow, like the stage, the lights, so we all have different aha moments in our lives. But yeah. Definitely Balance by Aoife, number one.
It was for me as well, the fact that when I joined the club and I was participant, and then when I became a coach, it was a big thing.
That's such a big deal.
It's a big deal to speak in front of 20, 30 people. And in where you are, 75, 80 people in the studio. In Clontarf, they had 75, 100?
Around that,
Around 100 people almost, 75.
Yeah.
So, but what I find, the bigger amount of people, the more you feed on energy. Just imagine these big singers having concerts in front of the masses.
Yeah.
I can imagine how they feel with this buzz coming back to them.
Yes.
It's better than drugs in a way, I would say, for them.
I always say my dance class, I always say this to my friend Jordan, when I finish on a Thursday morning, I teach at 9:15 every morning. I say, I feel like I've just been headlining the Tree Arena. Like, I feel like I've just done Glastonbury. Like, because that energy, and I can feel people having a good time. I sometimes think the more people, depending on how you feel, you might not be, that extroverted that you're into a lot of people in one space. But if you are, it's the best thing in the world because you'll just feed and you'll feel so energetic after.
But don't you find when you started as a fitness instructor that was so much hard work?
Yeah.
So much drilling, practicing.
Oh, yeah.
I find especially Les Mills classes, which are choreographed,
Yeah.
body pump, CX works, all of that, like you had to learn it.
Yeah.
So you actually train your brain quite a lot, your memory.
Yes.
And it's just, that was a big stress of my life, going from this comfortable job in a car park
Yeah.
and shifting now. Like I had to learn the new body pump release every 3 months.
Yeah. And it's homework.
And it's
like,
not just that.
Yeah.
There's extra. So people don't realize we spend maybe 12 to 20 hours every three months to learn new releases. You come back to it, you still do a few mistakes, then you try to fine tune it.
tweak
Next time
them.
you do
Yeah.
a new mistake,
Yeah.
and then you realize actually you put yourself in a lot of stress by being perfectionist and then trying really hard to make it right.
Yes.
And I was like, I can't make mistakes. I'm better than this. And you put lots of stress on yourself as well.
Yeah. And I think that adds to your anxiety as well. I know as an instructor, as I said, touched on imposter syndrome again, that kind of makes you feel like that because you want to be as good as everyone. And it's not, I would say actually in Westwood, we are not a competitive place in terms of instructors. We're very like encouraging of each other, which is amazing because I haven't always worked in those areas
great support
before.
From colleagues as well.
Yeah, like
usually. And with any
incredible.
clubs, I find.
Like it's like I wouldn't be even still working there if it wasn't for the amazing people that I work with because they're just incredible. But yeah, like there's so much pressure on an instructor, a group instructor. Like you're at home learning and you do it because you love it. But I think members might not always they don't see the outside. They think you're just kind of there and you learn it and you're just ready. But there's so much. And the same with yoga, like you have to plan that. I know I plan my yoga kind of on a Sunday for the rest of the whole week. So it's definitely, if anyone's listening to this and they want to be an instructor, like it's
hard work.
It's hard work, but it's rewarding. And like, if you're passionate enough, it will be the best career you'll ever have. Like, yeah. And I think it's great now because with yoga and Pilates, you don't have to be just working in fitness. You can just, focus on yoga. You can focus on Pilates, where it wasn't really a thing. Like I don't think when we were definitely working in the gym. I remember when I actually told someone I was going to do yoga training and they were like, what? Oh no, it's a bit like I think they thought I was like joining some sort of a cult. Like, but I'm so happy that it's like it's changed so much. Yeah. It's definitely a good space to be in as a participant and as someone starting their career in fitness. For sure.
Now we haven't touched this topic. We have a bit of time, so
yeah.
How about nutrition? What is your view on what's healthy? What's reasonable? What would you consider a good diet?
Look, I mean, I think the diet, like the nutrition space, is like so broad, and I think again with social media, it's impossible to know what is right and wrong. Look, I mean, I always make sure I have enough of everything: protein, carbohydrates, fats, everything. I eat relatively very well in my weekday. On my weekend, I allow myself to like have a little, I don't like to say the word treat because we're not dogs.
Exactly.
I like to say, like, allow myself to like change it up, have a takeaway, have whatever. But yeah, I definitely, obviously getting your vegetables, getting your fruit in, like everything that you need. But I find that it's a really tough space to be in if you're new to like the gym and new to nutrition and you're maybe struggling in that area because like there's still things, bread is so bad and like, is it like, and there is someone out there who could contradict vegetables. Like there's someone out there that could contradict fruit. There's too much sugar. Do you know what I mean? So it's a really hard space, but as I said, I try to keep myself relatively healthy and all the main things as well, like things that we don't even think about, like just drinking loads of water. I don't drink tea and coffee, but obviously limiting that if you kind of do, as we spoke about earlier. But yeah, that's kind of like, I just like to keep myself, as I said, just relatively healthy, but nothing like, I don't think I do anything like abnormal to share, but ask me and I might be able to fill you in more. But yeah, limit my alcohol, of course. I really don't drink too much anymore. Like I like to go out and have like wine and stuff like that, but I never overdo it. It's never been alcohol. It's never been a thing that suits me, like in terms of anxiety and stuff like that. So and enough sleep. Very important.
Yeah, and good points there, actually.
Yeah.
So, control the amount of alcohol, drink enough water, eat balanced diet.
Yeah.
Don't do fat diets because it's extreme.
Never, yeah.
Yeah. So I always try to think about our ancestors as well. What did they eat? And I
Potatoes.
realize, well, in Ireland, in fairness, in Slovakia they use potatoes quite a bit as well.
Did they?
Yeah. And then also, I remember in my family there was a lot of fruit, vegetables, and it was just from our own garden, and we would buy bread. I remember whenever I slept at my granny's place, my typical breakfast was, I think, 2 or 3 eggs, soft-boiled eggs, with a fresh bread with butter and salt.
Wow.
And to be honest, in those all years,
Yeah.
I never had any other breakfast at my granny's.
No way.
I always requested this one. Like, that was like a traditional, like there, it's just like, literally in those years of my childhood or teenage, I never had any other breakfast than just eggs with bread and butter.
Yeah. It's so mad because even my own granny, she like, it would be butter, like really thick.
Love it.
The bread.
Love it.
Like it would like, and that was literally all the time. Like that was what you had, like loads of cheese, like loads of everything. And it was so good. But it's moderation,
Yeah.
And even like my mum always says this, she's always like, say you read something like potatoes or mashed, well, that's all we used to eat and we were fine, again, it's back to moderation because its portion is everything. Like, because portions, like in a restaurant now, is not always bigger, but some places it's bigger than, what you probably need. So it's like, and again, I don't cut things out. Like if I want to eat a piece of chocolate, like I'm going to eat it. Like, so.
You train so much, you can burn it.
Yeah, exactly. But again, it's moderation,
Yeah.
It's finding
You don't
like.
have to eat the whole thing.
The whole bar, like you just have a little square or whatever.
The whole square.
Yeah, the whole lint bar, like, yeah. So I mean, I really don't think. Look, I mean, it's very easy for me to say that's what I do, and because I'm used to that. But I understand that it's so hard to get into a mindset of doing that.
Yeah.
And
moderating yourself in a way.
Yeah, it's so hard, and I think I'm very conscious of that as I get older and understand the world more, that it's not that easy. Like, it's easy for us to say lifestyle, exercise, good nutrition, but in hindsight it's not that easy in reality.
Doesn't it come to power of will, determination, having the mental strength to say no when the tempting option is very tasty, and temporarily satisfying on a taste buds level.
Yeah.
It always fascinates me when we see the pictures, let's say, at the beach somewhere from 60s, and there's no fat person there.
Yeah.
On that whole block of beach. Of course, there were fat people there as well, but in general, there was not as much processed food. People didn't make as much money, so they didn't overdid certain things.
Yeah.
So now the processed food is much more available, accessible, and affordable as well.
Well, that's the thing. Like, I mean,
and we're more comfortable. We don't cycle as much. We drive more.
Yeah.
So life became more comfortable. A lot of jobs shifted from cycling to factory, work in a factory, work in a field, to go to the office, sitting behind a computer. So we kind of changed from being active in our day to be more sedentary in the day. And maybe on top of it, we have more accessible processed food with higher density calories. So eventually our society has changed. And we have more information than ever before. We have more science behind it, more research behind it. Yet still, and I think that's why people need people like us to bring that knowledge and habits back into the communities as well.
And encourage, like, healthy eating as well. And it is a hard space because, like, again, kind of a point you made, like, the bad stuff is cheaper than the good stuff. And sometimes you might not be in that space that you can, like, afford it. So it's really, you have to plan it more. And, it's hard for bigger families as well to be able to eat well, because if something processed is so much cheaper to feed your family, you're going to go for that. So I think as a society, in terms of like the future, some of that stuff has to come from like the government and pricing and, you know, like as well as, you know, just eating better and feeling good. But that's a whole different podcast. But yeah, like it's hard because like you look at them, I don't know, McDonald's saver menu is like, this is €1, and then I don't know, like an avocado is a €5. So it's hard. And then sometimes, as we spoke about, like the misinformation on Instagram, like someone could say bread is bad, someone could say bread is great, and that person is now like, what am I going to do? So just using bread as an example. So it's really hard, but back to the point of, you have to find the right trainer and you have to find the right person who's very knowledgeable in that area and in that space. Because, as well, it's about, again, nutrition wise, it's spoken so much about calorie deficit, so much by, you know, online and everywhere, magazines. But it's not spoken. It's saying, some people will say calorie deficit, but it's not actually saying like nutritious calorie deficit.
Yeah.
So there's a difference between losing weight, being in a calorie deficit, and being healthy and being in a calorie deficit. Because yeah, I could have a McDonald's today and that's my calorie deficit, but I won't eat anything else.
Ozempic just for fat loss.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. But that's not nutritious. So I think we're still missing a little bit of that, like, you know, so I hope that will grow in that sense. And look, there is amazing trainers out there who are promoting that as well, but it's just, again, you need to find the right one. Mm. And nutrition wise, like, how would you say your lifestyle is in terms of nutrition?
Yeah, cool question there as well. I try to always have some kind of protein with most of my meals, because I'm interested into having strong, healthy body to grow my muscle mass throughout my 40s into 50s and be reasonably lean. So, you know, like I want to be able to feel strong and energetic. Mm-hmm. And in fairness, I went through all different extremes of nutrition as well. I'm thinking non-organic vegetables, fruit could be dangerous. And there is aspect of it as well. The pesticide accumulation interfere with our hormones and other aspects of our body. Even the plastics, the BPA, I forgot the name, BPA.
Yeah.
I'll have to check it. But anyway, it interferes with our endocrine system, so our hormonal system, and it's kind of kicks it out of it. So should we be obsessed with it, or should we just completely ignore it? And then I think even find a balance. If you can outsource a better product which is cleaner, like to know what's safe, what's not as safe, you know. But then many times we just kind of like use power of the mind, knowing that what you're eating is healthy for you. Because I think even worse can be when you knowingly kind of send signal to your brain like, hey, you're eating this, but it's toxic for you. You're eating this, but it can cause you cancer. This is this, but you're going to get some heavy metals. So I think just kind of allowing yourself to be okay with the food, and also programming yourself like, thank you for this food. That's nurturing. And so from nutrition, I've been vegetarian for some time as well, even raw vegan for 2 weeks. I tried fasting as well to heal the body, and I didn't eat for 5 days at some point. So I did everything. I experimented with everything, put on muscles, lost them, you know, went through cycles, and, you know, and I realized, you know, bread, I love bread. It's convenient. I love bread because, you know why? Because I don't like cooking as much. Anything that takes time away from my day into kitchen.
You're not into cooking.
I'm not into that. I like to do it as quickly. So, you know, like I would drink reasonably big amount of milk, maybe a liter a day.
A liter a day? Wow.
Yeah. When I was teenagers, I was drinking 2 liters of milk.
Wow.
Lots of protein. 1 liter of milk, 30 grams of protein.
Yeah.
You also have, I think it's around 500 calories in a liter of milk.
Yeah.
So you have and full fat. I drink full fat because if it has fat and protein, it will stabilize the sugars that are in it. So it's milk sugar, galactose. And actually, galactose is the only simple sugar that costs energy to process. So glucose and fructose is just go straight in.
Yeah.
And the galactose is urgently costing us energy. So it's not like full amount of calories will be basically contributing to your energy balance. I try to get some vegetables. Which is harder for me. I'm not a big fan of vegetables. I have to really force myself, like, so you didn't eat any vegetables. You had steak with bread and a glass of milk. So, like, for me, I have to force myself, like, okay, there are courgettes already for a week in the fridge. Just cook it, just do it. So usually when I'm eating out, I get myself salads on side dishes as well. It's easy. But I'm not a big fan of cooking it. I have to really put a lot of emphasis on doing it. So not always I have a perfect diet, but always try to get different...
The right sources.
So let's say what to eat before sleep as a snack. I realize popcorn really works well for me because it's few corn shells, like a few corn kernels. So it's not actually that much. If you look at the weight of popcorn before you put it to microwave, it's not actually that heavy. So I realized I can enjoy it before sleep, watching a movie to wind down.
Yeah, it feels like light,
And I actually have no problem falling asleep. And some people actually say spiking your... Different people react to it different way.
Yeah.
But I have tested it this week and I realized for me, I don't get fat out of it.
Yeah.
And sometimes I'm actually not eating enough carbohydrates. I can easily get a lot of protein in, even with supplements or milk, but then the carbohydrates to the amount of what I'm training. So that popcorn is quite nice.
Your energy.
And actually, I realize I'm falling asleep maybe even more easily.
Oh,
for
really?
whatever reason, I'm observing. So I just realized, okay, if I had 50 grams of cheese, I would have possibly bigger problem to fall asleep.
Few nightmares.
If it's too late, even things like mass gainers, which are whey protein with some kind of dextrose or some starches in it.
Yeah.
I realized that's very handy for me because I'm busy. Sometimes I don't have enough time to eat.
Yes.
For me, it's very convenient to get some energy into my muscles, into my body.
Yeah.
I realize if I don't have enough carbohydrates in my day, my energy drops, my mental energy drops.
Yeah,
I get brain fog and fatigue. So try to have always a little bit of bananas around the place.
Yeah, bananas are great.
I would eat lots of eggs. Usually I would put 5 or 6 jumbo big eggs.
Oh my gosh.
Well, because if
it's more, I'm just thinking, how many times do you have to go to the shop?
Once a week I go. Yeah.
Stock up.
And so basically, like one egg is around 6-7 grams of protein. So I believe that every meal for me should be between 30 to 40 grams of protein.
Yeah.
So that's why 5-6 eggs will hit that number.
Yeah, and it's good to know exactly what you're having. Yeah.
Cholesterol wise, it's very individual, and I've even been told by a doctor that is my client. She's like, the research says that some people with certain genetic predispositions can have one egg and their bad cholesterol spikes up a lot. Yeah. There are people like me, I can eat 10 eggs a day and I have completely fine cholesterol.
Yeah.
And I've always been eating a lot of eggs during my lifetime and always being sort of like go-to protein fat source.
Yeah.
Because they don't have carbohydrates. So you have fat proteins. Fats also, it's long, steady energy. So if you train hard, if you are active in a day, you have to fuel yourself appropriately. So I'm looking at having strong breakfast, a strong lunch, and towards the evening, I'm eating less and less.
You're eating, lighter.
Before, I used to experiment with getting leaner, skipping breakfast, having lunch, and then I'm very hungry at the end of the day. I'm usually finishing my classes at the evening because morning, lunchtime, a lot of personal trainings. Towards evening, I have evening classes in David Lloyd Club. I love to go to sauna.
Yeah.
So until I finish, I go home at 9:30 p.m. I start early morning.
Yeah.
So if I do steak for dinner, I can't fall asleep for 2 hours.
Yes.
So I realized strong breakfast, strong enough lunch, maybe some snacks if I feel. I try not to really snack that much because I realize actually, unless I can feel my energy dropping, maybe I should eat a little bit. If I feel fine, maybe you are okay. It's like maybe just one session and I have time. Okay, make yourself a good meal. And I just find a really good balance between different meals.
And it's great when you know what works for you as well. And I suppose sometimes as well, it's knowing that your energy is depleting. Like for me, it's the same. Like I have to have a certain amount of carbs a day to keep the memory, everything, the brain going to be in order to teach, to speak.
Yeah. And you know what, if I just before you came, like I had a client in the morning, 7:30 in Sandy Mount, nice, beautiful sunny morning, bit breezy, but I get exposure for 1 hour being on the sun actually. So I'm lucky to experience that nice weather and being early on. But then until I came home, I only had tea with a little bit of honey in the morning, so it got me a little bit of fuel.
Yeah.
You know, and I always think that full fat milk with a bit of honey stabilizes the sugar in honey. So it's kind of gives you a bit of boost, but it's kind of slower release. That's why I prefer the full fat milk.
Yeah.
But by the time I came here, I felt like I was 8:30. It was closer to 9 o'clock. I was making my 5 eggs with cheese. And I was like, my energy was falling. I could feel it. I was like, and you know what? Sometimes when your energy is low, you start to have doubts. You start to have bad thoughts. I'm like, I prefer just chill out today.
I know.
Maybe
that's when the negative.
Maybe I should cancel this.
Yeah.
But no, I didn't. I always say, I know these are temporary states, and acknowledging how you feel, what the thought process goes. And I realized I just didn't have enough energy the whole day. My energy crashed.
Yeah.
And all I was thinking was just to lay back. I knew that I have to quickly eat. I have to prepare the studio. And by the time because I even had a bread, I didn't eat it. I forgot about it.
Yeah.
But I had lots of milk in my tea second time. I put honey. So many times when I eat, let's say, protein fat kind of meal, I don't have much carbs or just one slice, I use milk and honey to top up my carbohydrates.
Yes.
It works for me. But if I had a lot of honey on its own or sugar, I had eczema. And I'm very
it's a different experience, yeah.
So I just believe as well with the glycemic index of foods, like when you're training like an athlete, like you use carbohydrates. So the more muscles you have, more you burn out through your reserves, and you run out of glucose.
You run out.
It depends. So I can't necessarily say that my clients should eat like me.
Yeah.
I've been fine-tuning it for 42 years, and I realized that, you know, like for me, because I don't eat that much carbohydrates, then the milk and honey is my carbohydrate.
Yeah.
Or I had the watermelon as well. Actually, I had watermelon and eggs and cheese as well, cheddar cheese. And so the watermelon was like 30 minutes beforehand.
Yeah.
And then I had eggs, so carbohydrates, and then I stabilize it with that fat and protein. So it's kind of like, think about sugars. How can you stabilize them?
Yes.
Protein, fat, fiber. That will slow it down. But if you're hungry, empty stomach, and you're just gonna drink half liter of sugar drink, and that's 300, 400 calories of sugar, you have a massive spike of insulin.
Yeah.
That is gonna bring more inflammation to the body. That's where you're gonna start to build up your arthritis, colitis, any of the dermatitis.
Yeah.
Anything ending IS, it's kind of a result of inflammation. So I learned that think about it like a fuel. How can you stabilize it?
Yes.
That was the biggest aha moment, because I used to have bad eczema.
Really?
Bad eczema for 30 years, 25 years. It was sugar. It was sugar. So now I found out through just having that milk and honey, I have that sweet taste, but it's stabilized.
It's not spiking.
No reaction on my skin whatsoever. It's
fine.
Wow,
that's amazing.
It took me a couple of years to find out that I shouldn't be afraid of honey or any sugar, just to get it in the right combination. That was the key.
And it is like, that's what nutrition is about. It's the right combination as well, because even like, for example, now tomorrow when I go to Westwood, I have to eat something before I go there, because I get dizzy. I feel I've quite low blood pressure, so I feel a little bit kind of faint if I don't have anything. And it's only something small.
Don't drink coffee as well.
Don't drink coffee. So I'll have like a banana usually, or something like that. But like sometimes, like you'll hear, you know, intermittent fast, do this, it's the best thing for you. But actually it's not the best thing for me. So again, it's not the best thing for everybody.
Yeah.
It's just finding what works, same as exercise, and then rolling from there, taking it from there. And sleep is such a big thing. Like, oh my God, like a big one for, you know, in particular weight loss.
You have already mentioned leaving the phone 1 hour before sleep. Put it away.
Yes.
Don't touch that thing.
I know. And log out of the apps, like social media. Like I log out of Instagram.
I don't know if I could handle that.
And then I have to log back in. Do you know, like, maybe your password's probably not the best idea. No one do that. But
You run your business. Come on. We need you.
we need you 24/7.
You're too important. You can't take holidays. Your clients need you.
I know, it's so funny. Like, I do feeling guilty when you're away. But yeah, sleep. It's just so important to get the right amount. But so many people don't have great sleep, and that's true. So many other factors other than phones, like it's stress,
watching
and
movies until late,
watching the wrong things as well. Like, and it's so funny because you could go through your whole day and then you get into bed and that's when the overthinking starts. I
find it, especially when in Westwood, I used to start very early and I used to finish late night before. I hated it actually, because even the thought that I only have 6 hours to wake up.
Oh my God, your mind's already telling you.
I'm just getting into the bed now,
yeah,
knowing that I'm not going to get enough sleep. And then you start overthinking. 2 hours can't fall asleep. Slept 4 hours.
Yeah.
Even one day, one night, I just was so stressed out of the fact I will have to wake up in the morning. I'll be so exhausted. I'll be abusing caffeine. I slept maybe 2 hours.
Wow.
I felt terrible next day.
Oh, it's so hard.
It's almost like your brain hurts.
Yeah.
It's like, it's such a bad thing.
Overthinking is quite
And you
common.
go there and you have to perform. You have to do 3 classes, body pump, cycling, CX works, and you are literally running on caffeine.
Yeah.
So that means you overdose on that, your energy drops, your adrenal glands burn out, less of your own energy production, more dependency on boosting yourself with caffeine and sugar.
Yeah.
Then you're overstimulated. Next night you cannot fall asleep again because you took so much
on
caffeine.
It's
on a cycle. So even work-life balance, I had to find the balance between saying, listen, I only will work 3 days on a shift.
Yeah.
I only want mornings or afternoons or evenings.
Yeah.
So I got the mornings and then everything started to be more balanced. Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So I had day befores. I could do personal trainings there. And I realized personal trainings have potential, once you start to doing well, to decrease the amount on the shift and from a classes to do your personal trainings, which is higher paid with more commissions. And then eventually, once you work for yourself and you're working freelance, you have so much more freedom. And even for trainers, like as a freelancers, you can put so much stuff against your taxes.
Yeah.
So much.
Yeah. It is find the balance though for anyone's career, like it's, how can you make time to get to the gym? Because it is important. It doesn't have to be the gym. It can be any form of exercise, but it has to be like that commitment of like, okay, I'm just going to get up a little bit earlier then.
Prioritizing.
Yeah. And I'm just going to, because I find myself anyway, I don't exercise well in the evening unless it's yoga. Like I'd rather run in the morning or whatever I need to do.
More energy in the morning.
Much more. But that's always not accessible for somebody else. And in that sense, I would always say then you really need to look at your nutrition and then get the fueling right. Like,
and you know what? Just to jump into it, many times, same like beforehand, anticipation of things, not feeling just the right energy. But then when the things come in, there's something like adrenaline kicks in, and you suddenly have a boost. And even like evening class, I might be exhausted from the day, but then the moment I start moving, the 5 minutes in, boom, different person, energy is there.
Yeah. And you're feeding off other people as well. So
and everything's fine.
Yeah.
So sometimes don't let yourself stop just for the fact that in that moment you feel a bit mentally exhausted.
Yeah, I know. Because sometimes it's like, am I tired or am I just telling myself I don't want to do this? So it's trying to like, because sometimes I'm like, maybe in my head I just don't want to do it. We've done
too many of these classes, and that's why the joy goes diminishing as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Because finding the balance of the volume so you can go like excited back into it. But if you do too many of them, you're burning out.
Yeah.
But it's not easy initially. There are phases for different trainers as well, like how much we can take. But then like bring it to our clients and bring it to the members, like what they should do. Sometimes it's hard. You have to sacrifice,
Yeah.
Many clients, fair play to you guys, like they don't sleep that well. They wake up in the night and they don't cancel me.
Yeah.
And I even tell them, like, you could have texted me, like, you know.
I know. Yeah.
And I would not come there, and it would be not a big deal. I would sleep longer. They would sleep longer.
Yeah.
But many of them, they push themselves. They know
they have that
the
commitment.
discipline and commitment, the sacrifice of
Yeah.
the comfort for the future
Yeah.
growth and goals, achievements.
I think when you know how good you feel after exercise, whatever that might be,
Boost your day.
that will kick in. That, like, so if you're new and you haven't exercised and you find something that you like, eventually you'll just, like you said, you'll just do it, but you'll also be like excited to do it. It will happen. It's just, but then on the other sense, if you do too much of one thing, you might not get the joy that you're seeking. Like, too much of anything, except yoga. You can do yoga all the time.
You can do it every day. Yeah. You can do it.
But like, I love that with like yoga, because you can meditate and it's yoga. It doesn't have to be exercise. But no, I'm joking in that sense. But yeah, it's just too much of anything. When I was teaching too much body pump, like, I wasn't feeling the joy that I feel when I do it now, because it's not as regular and it's not as like every single day or whatever I might have been doing before. So yeah, it's a roller coaster of life.
It's a journey.
It's a journey and a roller coaster of life.
Yeah, and the show doesn't stop.
No.
It just keeps going. Even if you don't want to participate anymore, the life is like that roller coaster that just keeps going, and you just have to stay on the right track.
Yes.
Don't fall off.
Yeah.
Don't damage yourself too much.
And remember that it's okay to take the roller coaster a different way. Like we were saying, like,
Just
careers.
slow it down a little bit.
Yeah. Like careers, relationships, whatever it might be.
Put the seatbelts on and helmets.
Yeah,
as
and
well.
stay in your car and lock the door. Like me.
It's not always about the biggest thrills. Sometimes just go for the relaxing ride.
Yeah.
And
I'm 100% down for that now.
That was very philosophical. Aoife, on this note, let's wrap it up. We chat for 1 hour and 50 minutes. Yeah.
Oh
when you're
my
having
God.
fun.
That's I'm surprised it's not longer with me, but anyway.
Yeah. So Aoife, please tell us more about where our listeners, viewers can find you, social media, maybe your website as well.
Yeah. So I am on Instagram under my own name, Aoife McManus. Same with Facebook and TikTok. Very not the best at TikTok, still trying to figure that one out, but I'm doing my best. And then my website is Balanced by Aoife. So you'll find that online and you'll have like everything there. You can book classes through that. You'll see me in Westwood on a Thursday and a Friday morning forever, who is in that gym in Leopardstown. You'll find me anywhere. But yeah, thank you so much for having me. It's been so nice.
Thank you for coming and contributing your knowledge and good energy.
Thank you. Thanks so much. Yeah. Take care. Bye,
Take care.
everyone.
Bye-bye.